Hi everyone, this is International Trade, Chapter 9. Do not mix it with Chapter 3, that was just the basis of trade like absolute advantage and comparative advantage. So, in this chapter, we will cover international trade like import, export, and how does importing and exporting affects economic welfare of a country, as in what are the gains and what are the losses. International trade is the exchange of goods and services between different countries or across international borders. And we all are aware trade is very significant in global economy. We understand that nations and even people trade on the basis of comparative advantage. What is export? Anything produced domestically, for instance, goods and services manufactured in Pakistan and sold to US, that would be export for us. But those products would be import for US. Whereas if we buy any foreign manufactured product, that would be import for us. But the main question is on what basis does a country decides to be an exporter or importer of any good or any service? We begin with closed economy case. It means that your country is not allowed to trade internationally. In simpler words, you're not allowed to exchange goods and services from other countries. So how you're consuming and what are you consuming? Whatever your country is manufacturing, that's what the whole economy consumes. So you might be trading within your country, as in within different provinces, let's say from Punjab and Sindh, but you're not allowed to exchange goods and services, let's say from US, Germany, or any country. That's closed economy. So in a closed economy, as you're not allowed to import and export, we actually focuses on the market equilibrium and consumer and producer surplus. So the market clearing price is $500, whereas 100 is the quantity demanded and quantity supplied. So consumer surplus is all the area above the market price and below the demand curve. All this green shaded triangle is your consumer surplus, whereas producer surplus is all the area below market price and above the supply curve. The yellow shaded triangle is your producer surplus. So consumer surplus plus producer surplus equals to total surplus. Total surplus measures the total benefit buyers and sellers receive from participating in the market. So, a country can have absolute advantage in everything they produce, like United States. They have absolute advantage in majority of the commodities. But producing everything on your own doesn't make sense because of concept of comparative advantage. It's better to trade with nations that have comparative advantage in making products and focus at goods or services in which you are better in making or what is your specialization. So in order to decide to be an importer or exporter of a specific commodity, you have to compare domestic price against world price of that good. So domestic price is the price of good in your home country, whereas world price is the price which prevails in any other country or world market for that good. So you always choose to import when your world price is less than domestic price. Because if you make that commodity in your country, it would be expensive. So it's better you buy it from any other country. And you choose to export when you receive a higher price in the world market. because here the world price is greater than domestic price. So if you manufacture the good and just consume it, you won't receive a higher price. If you also export and sell it at a higher price, that is the world price. Suppose if policymakers choose to open trade, as in allow international trade for free. International trade for free means you can import and export with other countries without any trade restriction or trade barriers like embargo or a tariff or a quota. So, when your economy is open, it means that either you will export or import. And the second question is who lose and who gains? And the third one is what happened to equilibrium price and quantity demanded and quantity supplied. So initially you're at equilibrium price. So PBT stands for price before trade. Remember, once you choose to trade, your domestic price will be equal to world price. But at the moment you're not trading, so PBT is your domestic price before trade. And we will see what is the consumer surplus, producer surplus before trade. So consumer surplus is the area above the market price and below the demand curve. So A and B, this is your consumer surplus. Whereas producer surplus is the area below price and above the supply curve. C is your producer surplus. You sum these up, you get total surplus, which is A, B, C. So this measure is depicting how much buyers and sellers have gained via interaction in the market. But what happens if your country chooses to be an exporter? Remember, if world price of good is higher than domestic price, you will export because producers will receive higher price of goods if they sell abroad. So once you choose to trade, remember world price will be equal to your domestic price, and here PAT stands for price after trade. So now you forget about the equilibrium price. This new line depicts your new price, and definitely it has disrupted the market equilibrium. Previously, your demand was equal to supply. Now, your quantity demanded is less because of a higher price, and quantity supplied is more. So, consumer surplus after trade is only A. It has reduced from AB to A because of a higher price. Definitely, following up with the law of demand, a higher price induces consumers to buy less. Whereas producer surplus has increased from C to BCD because it's the area below the market price and above the supply curve, which covers B, C, and D. So you notice via this trade, producers are better off and consumers are worse off. But we cannot decide on this basis that is this a good decision or bad, because with every decision we make, some party loses and some party gains. But overall gains should be higher than the losses. Then we can say it's a good decision. So for that, we have to compare total surplus. So total surplus before trade is ABC, whereas total surplus after trade is A, B, C, and D. Now you would say where this D came from. D are the specific gains from exports. So you decide to import when world price of a good is lower than domestic price. In simpler words, if you choose to manufacture that particular good in your country, it would be expensive. Whereas if the world price is lower than domestic price in your country, it's better You buy the commodity because it would be cheaper, definitely. So comparing world price and domestic price before trade allows you to observe comparative advantage in production, as in the domestic price reflects opportunity cost of a commodity. So if domestic price is low, that is cost of producing a good is low in a country, suggesting comparative advantage in producing good relative to price of the world. But if domestic price is higher than the world price, it means cost of production domestically is higher and it's better you import that particular commodity from a foreign land. So initially when you're not trading, we're at market equilibrium point where your domestic price is PBT, that is price before trade, and we actually measure consumer and producer surplus because that's how we know regarding total welfare of the country. Is it a good decision or bad decision? Which group loses and which group gains? So before trade, the consumer surplus is A. The area above the price and below the demand curve is A, whereas producer surplus is the area below market price and above the supply curve. So it's BC. You sum it up, you get total surplus, which is A, B, and C. And as you're offered a lower price for a particular commodity, so you will choose to import. So when you import, your new price is equal to the world price. So domestic price is equal to world price. PAT refers to price after trade. And this D depicts gains specifically from imports. So let's see how your total surplus changes. Now we see consumer surplus is greater after trade. Previously, consumer surplus was only A. Now it's A, B, and D because the price has decreased. So all the area above the price and below the demand curve is your consumer surplus. Definitely, you notice consumers are better off when you import because the price is lower. They can buy the product or any good service as a lower price. Whereas producers are worse off because the borders are open and they have to sell at a lower price. So your producer surplus is only left to C because that is the only area below the price and above the supply curve. So let's see how your total surplus changes. So total surplus is A, B, C, and D. Again, even though we see producers are worse off and consumers are better off, we cannot say it's a bad decision because we always compare total surplus. So here total surplus is greater. It's a good decision.